Hello, everyone. This is Deborah Richardson, and today I am putting the AP in Happy, where accounts payable teams are empowered to protect the vendor master file from fraud. This podcast will give a voice to accounts payable team members by talking about the growing reality of cyber attacks in their world and which vendor setup and vendor management techniques they can apply to protect the vendor master file from fraud. Are you or your team performing all possible vendor validations? Do you know which documents have the key data you need to confirm that the vendor you are about to create or update is real? Be sure by downloading the vendor validation reference list. It also has links to all the resources listed. Download at www.debra, D-E-B-R-A, R. Richardson, RICHARDSON.com. Today, I am talking with Dr. Germaine Walker, Freelance Doctor of Cybersecurity and author of the book about IT leadership that is really not about IT, Managing the SMEs. We discuss leadership, cybersecurity, motivating employees, and tips on being safe while working remotely, working in the office, or traveling. Keep listening. Welcome to episode 79, a conversation with Dr. Germaine Walker on leading a highly skilled workforce, cybersecurity, and the future of remote work. Please enjoy the interview. We had a lot of fun and it was a great conversation. My guest today is Dr. Germaine Walker of Happenstance LLC. And Happenstance LLC is a consulting company that provides leading technology professionals to support your data protection and compliance needs. And I have to tell you, we met on LinkedIn and I just had to connect with him because his description says freelance doctor of cybersecurity to help clients improve compliance controls by at least 50%. Plus, I'm pretty cool. I was like, okay, I have to meet this guy. So bring him on the podcast. So can you tell the audience a little about your background, why you started Happenstance LLC, and what clients you serve?
Sure. I'd be happy to. I can just say IT has always been my passion. I love it. I'm probably going to tell my age in a little bit. I mean, just by telling how I started. There was this thing called the ColecoVision. I don't know if you remember that, Deborah.
I don't remember that, but
see,
I do
see,
not remember that.
yeah, it came before the Atari. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I had one of those. I had the Atari. We got that for Christmas.
yeah. My parents got me this thing called the ColecoVision, and some of the guys out there, the people out there, gonna when I tell some of the video games about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." There was this game called like Bug Rogers. I used to watch the show, so it was on a cassette tape.
Hey, that was the top back then, the cassette tape. I remember that.
Yeah. So it started with that, and I looked at the ColecoVision and said, "Wow, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, how does this work? Like, how does this really work?" So I started to read books and just like find out as much as I can about that. Of course, I'm a gamer. I
Right.
definitely became a gamer over the years, but as I went on, I said, "Wow, I really want to learn about this," and
Mhm.
so I decided to design my career in
Wow.
IT, and then I got to know more about cybersecurity. Like I remember seeing some of the news about someone actually breaking into a system and causing this major catastrophe. It's like, wow, people can do that? What,
Mm.
computers? Okay, let me find out more about that. So the way I design myself is I say, I want to be like a cybersecurity professional. I want to understand it. So I had to start with the basics, learn IT. So
Yeah.
one of the things I can always say that like can make me competitive or I want to start an edge, which is I actually joining the Department of Defense.
Wow.
I got to work on the largest network in the world,
Hmm.
the DoD network. I became a military officer working on technology, and sometimes like my colleagues or when I go to interview, it's like I could tell them like, okay, well, I was trained to set up and secure a network under simulated terrorist attacks. So that would mean like if like machine gun fire, someone throwing a grenade, rocket launchers, and secure that network. So I have a understanding of security on a totally different level than I can say than a lot of other people. So I
Yeah,
learned
that's a deep level.
yeah. So those different tenets of cybersecurity, yeah, I lived that, like
God,
leading
that
40
that
plus
was
soldiers.
that was even before the rise of the phishing scams and the BEC scams, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was one tenet of it. So I also
Hmm.
designed my career by working in the private sector.
Okay.
So I got to work in various industries, coming from anywhere from chemical to the financial sector, through contracting, things like that. So it was like awesome. Everywhere I worked, it's like, okay, well, I would do my job, but like, oh, wow, can I learn that new technology? What's that?
Hmm.
Having that passion is just something you
Hmm.
normally do. So not only that, I thought about it. I wrote out a chart. Like, what is it that I want to do? How do I want to get there? So I still have that on my wall right now.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's like it's just a few things on there I still want to do. And it's always ever changing. But
Is that like the ultimate 5 year plan or a 2 year plan or
I made a 5 year plan.
sticking to it?
Yeah, but that changes. You're always updating it.
Yeah.
So I got the coveted CISSP, but that's funny about that is like
Mhm.
to get to that, there's a couple things you got to do before you get to that because there's so many requirements. If you actually go and look at the requirements for it. I mean, you got to get your IT background, networking, know a little bit about software, how that may be,
Yeah.
and I got a few certs underneath that: Network Plus, did the Security Plus, got some Cisco training till eventually I got the CISSP. But
So, for those of us that are not in IT, what does the CISSP, what type of certification is that, and what does it do for us?
okay, let's see. The CISSP is pretty much one of the most. It's the global industry known, worldwide known
Mhm.
cybersecurity certification on the CISSP. So having that certification means that you have met a certain standard in security where you can go into any operation and go ahead and explain and help with the domains of cybersecurity, anywhere from physical, logical controls. So, yeah, you can help build operations center for security.
Is that what you struck out to do with Happenstance LLC?
Well, what happenstance? Yeah, you know what? I would say this. What happenstance? I want to do is try to help save the world. Actually, and I do it in my own way as a cybersecurity professional would
Yeah.
do. For example, the World Economic Foundation, what they said in 2018 was, in the WEF is what that is a collaboration and collection of economic and political leaders who are
Mhm.
thinking about the changes in the world and how they can improve it and prepare for anything that may be coming up. So what they said in 2018 is that cybersecurity, that could be like the next pandemic.
Mhm.
It can hit some of them over 40 major infrastructures. That's anywhere from healthcare to the financial sector. And you got to think about it. Yeah, we are
Yeah.
superheroes in our own way because if the major power grid goes down, that's it. That's taking out a
Right.
lot of things that we do, from paying our bills, keeping the refrigerators cold, feeding
Wow.
our kids, anything. Driving.
So I know we hear about, because I share a lot of it with cybersecurity, we hear about breaches all the time, but I'm assuming if there were less CISSPs, we'd hear about it even more because it would happen more often.
Yes, yes. And actually doing, I'm a big researcher, especially because
Yeah,
I got the doctor in computer science. A lot of
yeah.
qualitative analysis, all this. That's just what I do. So one thing today is not if it happens, it's when it happens.
Yeah.
So being prepared.
Yes. Yeah, and unfortunately, I see that because I work with accounts payable teams, in some cases, procurement teams related to the vendor master file. And I get calls after it's happened, not the proactive steps to put controls in. It's once that, $2 million has been paid to a fraudulent bank account. That's when I get the call.
Oh,
And I mean, I do these podcasts. I have quite a few, I have the same number of blog posts, lots of tips. I have a checklist to check vendors and validate them, making sure that they're real, and still much more reaction, less proactivity. So hopefully, especially as of the taping of this podcast, when we're amid, the COVID-19 and shelter in place, and lots of folks are working remotely, which increases the cybersecurity risk. Hopefully, everyone comes out of here with a different attitude and behavior towards cybersecurity.
absolutely, absolutely. That's always it's kind of a funny story about that. I talked about that in my book
Mm-hmm.
about remote. So now currently, as I get calls for projects and
Mm-hmm.
contracts, things like that. In a good majority of them, they want you to move to that location, wherever it may be, from Texas to Hawaii, Washington, wherever that may be. Like, we want you to be on site. Now, with this COVID-19, this pandemic, that is out of the question. Now it's
Yeah.
more, hey, well, you know, we're doing remote. It's 100% remote, but when this is over, we want you to come on site. And
Ah,
I honestly have to, I have a talk with that manager or the recruiters, and I have to say, well, this isn't going to be over tomorrow. This isn't going to be over
right.
next month. This is going to happen for a while. If you're listening to the healthcare experts, they're going to be. This is the new reality, or we can't go back to the way things are. Things have changed.
New normal.
This is the new
And I know, some folks that are getting a little, was that cabin fever? Because I am too.
normal.
And I'm an introvert, and I've been working from home. So like the first 2-3 weeks, I was like, what's the problem? Now I get it. Now it's like, okay. But, I do agree with you. I think we are going to a new normal. I don't think it's going to go back to the way that it was, especially in relation to cybersecurity. I think it's going to be interesting what happens. And I know a lot of states, I know my state, we're shelter in place through April 30th. Was that a federal mandate? So is that across all the US?
Nope, nope, nope. There's from my last looked at the news,
Yeah.
CNN, which I find incredible. There's a few states that are not. It's really on a
Safe
case
to
by
say.
case basis. There, the governors.
Yeah,
Uh,
so this is going to be interesting. But you brought up your book, which interestingly is entitled The Book About IT Leadership That Is Not About IT, Managing the SMEs. So can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, sure,
Interesting
sure,
title.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to throw a little humor in that because
Yeah.
there's a lot of books out there that I've read, and they're they're so serious and they're really black and white about what to do and how you should do things. But I wanted to make this book more fun for the reader and say, hey, I mean, while this is a serious situation about how to manage your people, we take this serious, but the whole idea of the book is to have fun with it. And it throws humor at some of the common things that we've dealt with while I'm just working, doing operations and so on. So the book about IT leadership that's not about IT, managing the SMEs, it's you can use it not only in just IT, it's you can use it in any kind of aspect, any kind of subject. It's about leadership, just managing your employees in the most
Well,
positive way.
And I read it and I really related it to cybersecurity. So is that could just be me because that's my passion. And so how does that relate to your work within cybersecurity?
Sure. Cybersecurity is about protecting the IT assets. A major portion of it is about IT.
Yeah.
So you can definitely use it in that aspect. There's if you really take time to get to understand your employees, get to understand their unique needs, wants, dislikes, that's called, being more engaged.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about management is being efficient, getting the most that you can out of your employees.
Right.
But you can easily do that if you just care. And that's one of the things I say in the book is about take these steps, do them, get to understand your employees, try all these things. But guess what? The secret is actually enjoy doing it. Just do it. Want to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you also talk about how to let your employees grow, no micromanaging, which gets a big thumbs up from my side here. They're trained, they have certifications, let them do their thing, right?
exactly. You have a highly intelligent workforce that are doing some amazing things. If
Hmm.
they're getting these certifications, they're working with servers, they're doing advanced code, they're pretty much working on the company operations, multi-million dollar accounts. I mean, these are highly intelligent people. They know how to do their job. Your job as a manager is to pretty much make sure they have everything and they keep them engaged, make sure it's more than just checking the box. It's more than just approving the timesheets.
Yeah.
Understand what's going on in your employees and work environment, what's going on with them to help them stay engaged in their work.
And on that, I'd like to talk about, there's two different sides of the coin for cybersecurity, whether or not the frontline employees, and I'm speaking of accounts payable, whether or not they really need to be trained on cybersecurity threats or whether it needs to just be handled by technology. But in your book, you quoted the National Highway Institute, which is the educating factor of the Federal Highway Administration, in saying that we retain 10% of what we see, 30 to 40% of what we hear, and 90% of what we see, hear, and do. Now, you were specifically talking about preparing for the IT certification, but that helps, right, with training employees on cybersecurity. If they see it, hear it, and do it, 90% of that is going to be retained.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. Doing that. Security awareness training is very important. I've worked with organizations. I've had discussions with my
Mhm.
colleagues and peers, executives, to understand like what is the return on investment, the value of doing this training. What if this doesn't happen to me? Well, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. It's no longer about if it happens; it's when it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
So you should train your employees. You should train everybody to act responsibly, what to do in an instant response, a pandemic, kind of like
Mhm.
what we're going through right now.
Yep.
Um, hey, no, and you can actually make this fun. You know, it's about experiencing. You can take that training and you can actually do like a simulation, like act this out and real enactment about what happens in the pandemic. What would you do? Who are the key people? I've been part of a task force to actually create this documentation and actually do the training on an annual basis. It's very important. Um, take for example now, if
Mhm.
I know some people wish they have prepared for this, so
Yep.
it's very important to do that. So 90% of actually doing that, experiencing it, helps the most. This is the experience that I've had all the way from the military all the way to the private sector.
So is that what I think the term is gamify? Is that what they mean by gamifying training?
So let's see, gamifying. We have something that we had before about like kind of like I think about war games.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can actually be enjoyable. So
Hmm.
we always have this training and you feel like you're let's say running 10 miles like, oh, I want to do this, I gotta do this, oh gosh. No, you can take this and actually make it, how should I say, even though it's a very
Hmm.
serious situation, a subject, and make it a way to actually improve the comprehension
Yeah.
of the people, the actually listeners, the employees themselves. So you can take this and make it fun. You can go ahead and reenact this. Even quiz it. Like you can take, for
Yeah.
example, say whoever got the most answers right, correct after we've done this scenario, gets a prize. I mean, just doing the situation itself, I mean, it should be fun for a little because I mean, the average office, we're not we're not prepared for this. We're not doing this. So it could be like from an action movie to some people, like, wow, we're doing this. It's amazing.
Yeah. One of the chapters in your book is called Motivating IT. So, can you talk about techniques used? And maybe you just touched on that as well, but talk about techniques used and whether they can be used to motivate employees to take cybersecurity training. And then also just performing the daily due diligence and taking that seriously.
Okay. Motivating your employees is all about getting to know your employees. Firsthand, some of your employees they're gonna be kind of skeptical. No, what do you want? What do you want? Why are you asking me those questions?
Yeah.
But if they feel that you genuinely care and you're trying to
Mhm.
understand more of their needs, by all means, they'll open up. Majority of them. Some will still fight, but hey, that's how we are. I mean, you got to think
Mhm.
about it. Some of the things that we do, I mean, these employees, they're people. They have
Yeah.
they have needs. They have families. They have career goals. Taking the time, like motivating them, can be something simple that's allowed for you. As what I have found in my experience, managers don't always use the autonomy that they have, that that authority. I keep going back to just checking the box.
Yeah.
Well, let's not check out the box. Let's get outside of the box.
Mhm.
So some of the things we have the expenses to take our employees out to eat or do certain things depending on the company. Some are
Mhm.
more lavish, some are not. But let's just start with some of the more efficient, cheaper ways, like just taking your employees out for a simple lunch. When you're taking that lunch, make it non-work related. Just talk about, hey, so how's everything going? No,
Mhm.
like, what do you guys got going on? You'd be surprised. I mean, again, we
Yeah.
have these highly skilled workers, these intelligent people, so they're doing some amazing things. I know some of my employees that I've had, it's like, oh, I'm training for a marathon. Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm thinking about making a new framework for how software works. And okay, wow, that's pretty cool. Or hey, I'm going to the Comic Con. Wow, a lot of us do. A lot of IT people, we are geeks. We are definitely like,
Comic
wow,
Con. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Comic Con. I watched this new anime. Like, hey, okay, tell me more about it. And that's how you get them to open up. I mean, and if you're anything like me, I love this stuff. So,
Mm.
you get to know this, or once you get to do that, you get to understand what they like. So, for example, you got to understand it. Let's say a majority of your employees are into anime.
Mhm.
Okay, well, guess what? All right, one day you was like, hey guys, thanks for the great work. How about we take some time off? Actually, down the street they're having like a little convention. You know what? The company's paying for it. Let's take some time. Let's go. You know, they will appreciate things like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, or either just going to the park. Let's have a meeting outside in the park.
Yeah.
Change it up. It will improve efficiencies, and you're like, wonder, wow, how did this happen? Because you're engaged.
Yeah. And I actually like in the book you suggested, right, to step away from the office environment. Like you're talking now with going to the park, finding things to do that everyone's interested in. But I want to, just figure out, this seems like a premonition because you also talked about, as a matter of fact, you had a chapter dedicated to working from home. So getting out of the office environment, working from home. Just want to know if you're psychic because that's what we're all doing now. And you describe it as a benefit. right, that leaders should embrace. And we know, that a lot of the IT folks that may be listening to this may have already been working from home, but for most AP teams that has really not been the case. It's exactly the opposite. So what tips do you have for those not working or not used to working from home? What tips do you have, cybersecurity or others?
Yeah, that is a true blessing for us IT professionals. We
Yeah.
we 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 have the probability or more of working from home than a lot of other people,
Hmm.
so it's great. So what I would say is, for people working from home or who've gotten this benefit is, I mean, just first mentally prepare, just mentally prepare, because there's a lot of things that you get to benefit from, and managers, you get to benefit from this. A lot of companies in their culture and their sayings would like to have work flexibility. Well, there you go,
Yeah.
here it goes again. We're going back to the needs of those employees. We
Right.
have families, they have kids, they have things
Hmm.
they have to do. For me, it became like really a breakthrough. It's like, I had one project where I had to go do a conference call to India. I had to go
Yeah.
speak to someone from the UK. I
Yeah.
had to go travel. It's like, if you think about it, these are in different time zones. So if you add it all together, it's like, if you were sitting in an office, this would be your entire time in office.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. I love my work. I don't want to spend 24/7 in the
Yeah.
office. So
Yeah.
yeah, you got to have that work flexibility. So for people now embracing this, oh
Hmm.
gosh, of course now this is really your choice, especially for those states who it's required.
Right.
You have to stay and you can't go in office. This is the new reality.
Yeah.
So for those who are just embracing this or they're getting ready to, mentally prepare. So
Yeah.
I'll start with this. For example, being at home, set up a actually work environment, some place where you can work quietly. Maybe if you have extra room, or maybe there's an area in your bedroom, set it up.
Hmm.
Amazon will lead, they're still delivering, so you can get you like
Yeah.
something that you can get, like a laptop stand, put it in your lap, get your equipment. But you know what? The company, if your company probably provide that stuff to us if you just ask. Sometimes it's just about asking, just like in
Hmm.
management, just ask.
Yeah.
So that's one. So far as the security portion of it, oh wow, VPN. Definitely VPN. The companies have a VPN. A lot of the major security companies have it. Symantec. There's
Hmm.
a lot of vendors out there that are approved that you can get a VPN. And for those who actually are doing remote and you have to travel, and I don't know wherever you are, sometimes if you can still go into a coffee shop, that's still possible with this pandemic going on. You could buy yourself like a lock, you know, one of those special laptop locks. You can,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
I've heard of those. I don't have
hmm
one. So is that something you recommend?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
Why?
gotta think. Oh, you gotta think about the different situations. So let's say you're out, you're working. So let's say you were at a coffee shop, and
Mhm.
this is I don't know, pre-COVID-19. So you're definitely in the coffee shop. There's a bunch of people around. Let's say you have to go to the bathroom, or you're just going up to the counter to get your coffee or food or whatever.
Mhm.
It only takes a few seconds for somebody to walk past and take your computer, and God forbid that
Yeah.
you have unlocked. So it's good to have that to lock that up, especially your phone. Companies really should be doing multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
So you think about who you like, what you know, um, what you have, what you are. So things like that. Let me see. I mean, there's a lot of those things when it comes to just remote work.
Hmm.
Is a lot of the simple things to make sure you're always locking your computer. That's
Yeah.
another one. You're walking away. If you think, oh, I'm just gonna go a few seconds, no, just lock your computer, because that few seconds, maybe you have a conversation with somebody you just passed by, or you had another task you just forgot about, and it's open, and you letting somebody have access to
Yeah.
restricted data or customer data. And I'll say one last one. Lastly, let's see here. Oh, one of the simple ones. Have a something for your screen to prevent from shoulder surfing. There's a screensaver you can get. You can simply attach it to your screen so that passerbys cannot see on your screen. Only you can see it when you're looking directly at that. So those are some of the
Yeah.
common things.
Yeah, and some of those are good for office too, especially that last one with the screen and also locking your screen as well. I remember it was just prevalent. Some employees, when I was in the office, would not lock their screen. They'll go to the printer, then they'll get into a conversation. 15 minutes later, they have, in my case, all this vendor sensitive data that's just been on their screen, open for anybody that's passing by to see. So, and that could happen now in your home environments too, because a lot of people have roommates and they don't need to see that information. Lock it up.
Yeah, I got a funny story about that. Didn't
Yeah.
happen to me, but it happened to someone I know. I'm not gonna tell where, but but you always got that one colleague or friend or whatever who was a practical joker, and just imagine you leave that screen open. And I remember getting an email, and it went out to the entire team. It's like, I am buying free pizza and then I'm quitting. It's like, what? What is going on? Like, you left your
Lock it
screen
up.
open.
Lock it up.
Yeah.
Either that or what are the controls when you can have someone's monitor, everything is showing like upside down. Okay, so that has happened before.
Yeah.
Lock
There's
it up.
Yep, and pretty much if you think about the mindset of like a cyber attacker or a hacker, sometimes it's not really a motive for it. Sometimes some people just want to see the world burn. They just want to do stuff.
Yeah.
So it's simple things like that as a person or employee. Take those steps and someone won't go into your information, take some files and email it to themselves or something. Be
Yes,
careful.
exactly true. Have to be careful, especially if you're dealing with sensitive information, be it in accounts payable or any other team or group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially now. This is a very sensitive time, and
Yeah.
security is everybody's responsibility. I
Right.
heard that from a lot of great and wise people,
Yep.
and
Agree with that.
I use that now. So we have to protect the consumer. We have to protect our employees. Have to protect ourselves. So
Right.
they're going through a lot of stuff right now, and
Yep.
we want to make sure that the last thing they have to worry about is getting a letter in the mail saying that their information has been breached.
Yeah.
They don't need that.
Don't need that. Okay, so to kind of wind this down, then, what's the biggest takeaway that you want people to learn from your book? The book about IT leadership that is not about IT, managing the SMEs. What's the biggest takeaway you want?
That the world is ever changing. Technology evolves every 3 to 6 months, and we need to change with it, like anything as leaders. So, as the world is changing, we need to think of new and interesting ways to keep our employees engaged and to bring them into the next decade. So, if you're one of those managers who feels that, you know, I need to have my people right in front of me to do the work, or
Mhm.
I need to make sure I check on everybody every few minutes. You need to do a self check.
Yeah.
You are definitely doing it wrong. Take a personal look inside, read the book. There's a lot of great techniques in there, and there's a lot of things to not only help your employees but help yourself. And it's funny. It has illustrations in there. You'll get a good laugh. It's a quick read.
Yeah, it is a quick read and it is very funny. For anyone that wants to connect with you, where can they connect with you and then where can they get your book?
Okay, they can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. They can go to my company website for Happenstance LLC. It's fight-murphys-law.com. They can definitely email me. And all the information is in the book. You definitely can reach me on LinkedIn. Everybody can. Be
All
happy to
right.
have you.
Yeah, and I'll put all of that in the show notes as well so that they can just quickly link to everything. So thank you very much, Germaine, for being on the podcast today. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. It was truly a pleasure, and I look forward to talking more with you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great interview with Dr. Germaine Walker. And thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the 79th episode of the Putting the AP in Happy podcast, where accounts payable teams are empowered to protect the vendor master file from fraud. Don't forget to check the show notes for the links mentioned in the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing and writing a review of my podcast on the platform that you use to listen. Stay happy.